Hi, I'm Amy. I'm a senior learning experience designer here at Haas Digital. A big part of my job is building engaging online courses, but I'm also always looking for new tools that aren't just cool, but fill real pedagogical needs. So that's what we'll be doing today. I also want to preface this workshop by saying that this workshop is called EdTech Explorer, and that applies not just to you, but also to me and to my team. I'm going to be sharing some tools that we've used and had success with before, but also some that we haven't tried, but that we just see a lot of potential in. So this is really just meant to get your wheels turning. I also really want to hear from you and find out what you're looking for. So on that note, to make this relevant to you or to whoever's attending, we organize this workshop into 3 broad categories. So we have games and simulations, peer learning and collaboration, and experiential and project-based learning. For today, I'll go ahead and go through all of them, but typically we could just focus on whatever area is most relevant to your class. So to get started, let's talk about games and simulations. So why games and simulations? The most obvious reason is that they're fun, which is helpful for engagement and motivation. So students get to sense accomplishment, but it's also an opportunity for active learning. They get to apply knowledge instead of just passively listening to a lecture. And when they play games, they also might get to discover mechanisms or notice patterns on their own, which is a great jumping off point into something more didactic. So asking students, what did you notice while you were playing? Why did you do X, Y, or Z? We also know that students learn by drawing connections to prior knowledge. So by letting students play and interact with the concepts on their own through games and simulations, you've given them an experience that they can relate to once you start to go into lecture or have a deeper discussion about it. So the first game I want to introduce is called Kahoot. If you're already familiar with Zoom polling and just want to add an extra layer of fun, Kahoot's a great tool where you can create multiple choice games using a larger variety of question types and generate a bit of competition. It's a great way to kick off the class to review some previous material, or even in the middle of lecture to break things up and lead to deeper discussions. This has been used for end of class trivia, even at core finance, and with undergrads up to MBA students, and we've heard reports of students having fun with it at all levels. So as a teacher, once you're on their platform, it's really easy to create your own questions, set your own time limits and points. And then when you're ready to play, it's also really easy for students. So you can launch the game and students can join by entering the pin in the Kahoot app or from their web browser. And that means that this works well for remote, in-person, and dual mode teaching. So the board is what you would be screen sharing, and students can use their own devices to join and play from wherever they are. And this is what they would see when they start playing. So the question comes up and they just choose the color or shape that corresponds to the correct answer or answers before time runs out. And then at the end, there's a leaderboard so everyone can see how they did. And if you like, at the end, you as the professor can also go back and check out a report of how everyone did, what students answered and how long it took them. So this is a really fun way to add a quick knowledge check and get students engaged, and also a way to generate discussion, because then you can ask a student, like, hey, Annette, why did you choose A, for example, and have them explain it to another student who chose B, and use that as a jumping off point for a deeper discussion. If you want to play around with this, basic accounts are free for teachers, and you can sign up on their website. And if you want to upgrade to a pro account, we do also have licenses available for Haas faculty. Next up, we have Viewpoint. This platform was developed at the Center for Academic Innovation at the University of Michigan, and they call themselves a one-stop shop for role-based simulation exercises, because you're able to create simulations either from scratch or from a template, facilitate them and participate in them all from the same place. So there are a lot of different types of simulations out there, but Viewpoint is best suited for types of simulations where students are discussing scenarios where different stakeholders might disagree about the best solution. So here's what you would see when you first enter the simulation, just a quick overview of what's going on and why. In this sample simulation, we're deciding where we're going to have our quarterly office dinner. And then here's what you'd see where you're able to create different groups and assign roles or personas to each student. So they'll have details on who this person is and what their public stances are, which will inform their discussions and decision-making throughout the simulation. If you want, you can also make things more interesting by also giving a person private beliefs. These are some personal motivations that others won't be able to see, but would inform how you act and the decisions that you make throughout the game. And then here's what the participant dashboard looks like. So here you can see the schedule, other members and groups, news, and other timely resources that facilitators queued up for you. So maybe you want students to see something, but only after they've made their first decision. And you can also send out company-wide messages. And finally, here are some examples of decisions being made throughout the simulation. So if you have a simulation activity that you think might lend itself well to this framework, let us know, and we'd be happy to dive deeper into the platform with you. You can also check out the authoring guide, which is linked on our website, to take a closer look at what goes into creating a simulation on Viewpoint. And there's also an intro video that shares some of the past use cases if you want to hear about other examples. So as I mentioned before, Viewpoint is more for role-based decision-making simulations and discussions. It currently doesn't have any quantitative capabilities, like some other business sims you might be used to. But if that's of interest, or if you think you might want to use a hybrid of the two, we do have another learning designer on our team with a data science and programming background that can help develop custom simulations or pieces that could potentially slot in with tools like Viewpoint. So if you have your own idea for simulation, we'd love to chat. We've talked to professors before who have used sims, but they were either dated or they didn't quite do everything that they wanted it to. So if that applies to you too, that's a conversation we'd love to have. Moving on to peer learning collaboration. When we talk to students, the number one thing students miss the most during shelter in place, not surprisingly, is each other. Being able to see their peers, hear what everyone has to say, work with each other. And we also know that one of the most effective ways to learn something yourself is to teach it to somebody else. So it's important that we provide students with more opportunities for interaction, especially now. A lot of you are already planning to create asynchronous content and pre-record some lecture videos. If you're not, I encourage you to check out Workshop 301 on flipping your course. So I want to share with you bCourse's own video tool. This is called Canvas Studio. This is just an extra step above using Panopto and Zoom if you're already comfortable with those and you want to take it a step further. So when you embed videos with Canvas Studio, you have the option to enable in-video commenting. So if a student is watching a video and has something to say, they can leave a comment and it'll be timestamped. So as other students watch, they can also see what their peers have to say at different points in the video. If that's distracting, you can always toggle those off, but still see the comments down below. Since it's integrated into Canvas, if you have a class where public speaking is important, like presentations, elevator pitches, or students practicing negotiation and influence, you can also use this to create video-based assignments. So students can use Studio to record or upload their own video, and then you can apply a rubric to it just like you would with any other assignment, and then either give feedback yourself through the SpeedGrader, or better yet, assign peer reviews, which we'll get to in a little bit. This next part doesn't have as much to do with collaboration, but while we're here, I just wanted to point out that you can also use Canvas Studio to create video-based quizzes. So you can select any point in the video and choose between multiple choice, true, false, or multiple answer questions. And then you enter your question. If you want, you can even customize the feedback comments that students get for a particular response. So when students are watching, the question pops up for them when they reach that point in the video. With these, video comments are turned off because they're individualized, so students aren't sharing their answers, but it's still another great way that you can engage your students and incorporate short knowledge checks into pre-recorded content, which might normally be a little bit more passive. And if you like, you also have the option to have quiz results from these in-video quizzes feed back into the bCourse gradebook. While we're in bCourses, I also want to call attention to the peer review option, which you can access under any of your assignments or discussions. If you already have some pairings in mind, you can assign them manually, or you can just have bCourses assign them automatically for you and specify how many assignments you want each student to review. Peer reviews are great because they give students a chance to take on the role of the expert. And as I mentioned before, they learn better when they have a chance to articulate what they know and share that with others, or use that knowledge to evaluate others. So students can annotate submissions using the annotation tools that are in the bCourse doc viewer. They can also leave comments via text, media, or file attachment. If you have a rubric, peer reviewers can also fill that out. And as an instructor, you're also able to monitor the comments that students are leaving and verify that the peer reviews are being done. Moving away from bCourses, this is Jamboard, which is basically like a digital whiteboard where you can write, draw, add pictures, add sticky notes, and then share your boards or even save them for later. The great thing about Jamboard is that we already have easy access to this. It's from Google, so it's under the same menu you'd go to create a new Google Doc or Google Sheet, and you can share it with your students the same way you share a Google Doc. So it essentially comes as a blank board, but if there's an existing template that you like, you can just set that image as a background like I did here. This is great for quick brainstorming sessions and for easily navigating between student-created boards. So one use case might be to have students work on these during Zoom breakout sessions where students can all be working on the same doc at the same time, but each group has their own frame or slide. So you might tell your students you're going to have 20 minutes to work with your group on your lean canvas. And when we come back, we'll have a representative from each group share what you came up with. And then everyone in the class will have access to that document to refer to during discussion. A common challenge we hear from faculty is that students don't want to speak up, or we also hear that from students that they don't know what to say or how to say it in a remote environment. So activities like this help structure the conversation a little bit and give students something to speak off of, so that you're setting them up for a warm call versus a cold call. And then last but not least, I want to share a tool for experiential and project-based learning. So quick refresher, if you're not already familiar with experiential and project-based learning, which have a lot of overlap, at the heart of both of these is really giving students opportunities to learn by doing and to solve real authentic problems, which leads to greater long-term success and knowledge retention than just doing problem sets. It also just helps give the learning a purpose and students the chance to build self-efficacy when they see the real impact that their work can have. So the main tool I want to introduce here is called Ripen. This is one we've just started to pilot, but we think it's really helping solve a need that professors and students were looking for even before remote instruction. So essentially, Ripen is a platform that facilitates and manages university industry collaborations. So companies can post projects and problems to solve on the platform, and universities come to Ripen with students who can help solve those problems. So from your perspective, you post your project details, like the description, how many students you have, the skills they're coming with, key dates and milestones, and that'll be posted in the marketplace so that companies can also browse and see that there's a class of Berkeley students that they can work with and reach out directly. So it's a win-win. Companies get to discover talent and hear fresh perspectives, and students get to work on real challenges, collaborate with real companies, and see the impact of their work. And then depending on how it goes, it could maybe even lead to internships or future employment opportunities because they've already made those connections. So here's just a quick, easy summary of the different steps to get your students started on a project. And at the end, students and companies are able to leave each other feedback on the experience. If you're interested in this, you can also check out the full video walkthrough on our website. And I'd also be happy to connect you with the folks at Ripen if you just want to talk more about your projects and see where there might be a good fit. And with that, I always just like to end by saying that even though this workshop introduces a lot of tools, it's really not about the technology itself. It's what you do with it. We're not here to sell you anything. You don't need to add technology to your course for the sake of adding technology. But sometimes just knowing what the possibilities are can help you to start thinking about your courses, your teaching, and the learning experience that you want to provide in a different way, remote or not. And here at Haus Digital, we're here to be your thought partners in that.